just a bit of background on Idaho, which, especially if you're from the UK, that you wouldn't be aware of, that there are some extremist groups in Idaho. There's quite a lot of far-right activity. I've been talking to somebody actually from Oregon who actually studied in Idaho and didn't quite realise what it was like before she went there, and was quite unsettled, shall we say, by it. But this article particularly is about Coeur d'Alene, and Maddie and Kaylee from Coeur d'Alene, also Coeur d'Alene, also Cara Northington. I know she was based there at one point, and that's Xana's mum. And I don't think it's not that far from Moscow. So there was a gay pride festival in June in Coeur d'Alene, and a hate group were arrested, and you should be able to see a video of that group being arrested. There were about 40 people. They're all in a lorry, but you can see that video separately. But this talks about the history of extremism in North Idaho. So it refers to it as a long history here. So, 31 members, it says there, of a white nationalist group were arrested in Coeur d'Alene on Saturday. So what day was this then? I don't know, it says June 14th. And the group was called the Patriot Front. And the Southern Poverty Law Centre described them as a white nationalist hate group. Arrested at the festival, Pride in the Park Festival, and they were all hidden in a U-Haul truck, and apparently the police were tipped off. And they all had riot gear and at least one smoke grenade. In the aftermath of the arrest, Coeur d'Alene Mayor Jim Hammond referenced the city's history with hate groups and extremism, particularly because in the video that I put up, they say none of them were from Coeur d'Alene, but that really surprised me. Now distancing themselves, Jim Hammond doesn't say that. The host says that. Jim Hammond is interviewed in the clip that I show. It was the host of the news, or the news reporter, that said that. But I'm going to have a look and see if I can look through those names, because it seems that it isn't uncommon of people from within Coeur d'Alene, obviously not saying everybody is, to hold these sort of values. From what I hear, from what I'm being told, we're not, hopefully I don't have to, I'm all right. We're not going back to the days of the Aryan nations. We're past that, Hammond said. So this is the mayor. And we will do everything we can to make sure that we continue to stay past those kind of problems. So, Aryan nations, have you heard of the Aryan Brotherhood? They're like a white supremacist gang that are in a prison gang, and they're in all the prisons around the USA. So in 1974, Richard Butler moved from his home in California to Hayden Lake in North Idaho with dreams of a white-only homeland in the Pacific Northwest, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center. By 1977, he'd created the Church of Jesus Christ Christian, otherwise known as the Aryan Nations. This neo-Nazi group was a prominent figure in white nationalist circles through the 1980s and 90s, drawing over 100 white supremacists every year to the group's compound in Hayden Lake for what Butler called the Aryan World Congress. Butler's gatherings drew some of the most notorious white supremacists in the US to Idaho, such as Ku Klux Klansman Tom Metzger, Louis Beam, and Don Black, ironically named. The group eventually splintered in late 2004 following the death of Butler at the age of 86. If you were around in those days, or if you recall, with the help of a lot of citizens in this community and the Southern Poverty Law Center and other groups, we were able to completely rid ourselves of that group and the kind of awful culture that they were trained to present to our community. Hammond said Monday, "We are a culture of love and kindness." The Order. In 1984, an Aryan Nations offshoot group called The Order placed a homemade bomb under the kitchen of the congregation. I'm going to butcher this, but I'll give it a go. A Haveth Israel synagogue in Boise. The bomb caused no casualties, but about $4,000 in damage. Bruce Carroll Pierce, one of the two men involved in the bombing, called it an act of war to serve the greater good. Jeez. Scary shit. A year later, Aryan Nations Security Chief Alden Cutler was arrested for paying $1,800 to hire a hitman to kill an informant who was looking into the Order. Although the hit job was unsuccessful, Cutler was sentenced to 12 years in prison. The Order was linked to numerous other crimes throughout the 80s, such as the hijacking of an armoured truck for $3.6 million, the murder of Denver radio show host Alan Berg. Let me just see what happened to him. He was gunned down and killed instantly in his driveway in Colorado, Denver. He had already been the target of a steady stream of death threats. Okay, that's in 1984. The arrest of Idaho native David Tate, who murdered a Missouri state trooper in 85. Killing Trooper Jimmy Linegar. I'm assuming he shot him. Automatic weapons. Okay. The Southern Poverty Law Center classifies the Lordship Church in Bonners Ferry, I've read about Bonners Ferry recently. What was that about? Something in Bonners Ferry. As a hate group on its statewide tracker map. I feel like I've done a video about somewhere that was in Bonners Ferry. Something. Can't remember what. The church pastor, Warren Campbell, has been tracked by SPLC for a while after a 2012 report claimed that Campbell's church in California was becoming increasingly radical, ramping up its paramilitary activities and forging alliances with an array of figures revered on the radical right. I'm going to say something quite controversial here, and I don't see why it would offend anybody in general. If I'm incorrect, well, I don't see why it would offend this person's family, because it's not an offensive thing to say in and of itself, but I could be wrong. But so I won't actually say which person I'm talking about. One of the victims, having perused their Instagram, I actually got the impression that this person might have been gay, actually. And and the police. So I've been looking at James Fry. I've been looking at his earliest press conferences, and it was something like the 16th of November, and he referred to this as an isolated, targeted attack. And when you look isolated, targeted attack, a lot of these are hate crimes or domestic violence, but targeted, not so much domestic violence. They're more like hate crime type things. And I've got lots of examples of different articles that refer to an isolated, targeted attack and no danger to the public. And I do wonder what initially made them believe. They seemed quite confident that they thought it was an isolated, targeted attack. So confident that they didn't, from what I've been looking at early footage today, that they didn't get people to shelter in place, and that is what they would normally do in that sort of situation. So that's just something that I'm sort of wondering about a little bit. Islam has been at war with America since Thomas Jefferson, Campbell told the Statesman in 2017. Who's Campbell? Hold on. So this Lordship Church in Bonners Ferry, the church's pastor, Warren Campbell, has been tracked by SPLC for a while after a 2012 report claimed that Campbell's church in California was becoming increasingly radical, ramping up its paramilitary activities and forging alliances with an array of figures revered on the radical right. Campbell told the Statesman in 2017 that he abhorred being labelled as a hate group, but described Muslims as violent people. Islam has been at war with America since Thomas Jefferson, Campbell told the Statesman in 2017. The Mohammedans are violent people, and I believe that they're dangerous to America. We could spend all day citing incident after incident. This is what this leader of this church said. So other hate groups in Idaho. 6 hate groups as of 2021. The Proud Boys and the Patriot Front are considered statewide. G416 Patriots is in Meridian. And 3 other groups are in North Idaho: Lordship Church, Independent History and Research in Coeur d'Alene. Independent History and Research in Coeur d'Alene, and Brother Nathaniel Foundation in Priest River. Although hate groups are decreasing in the state, apparently, hate crimes are increasing, according to previous statesmen reporting, using data from the Southern Poverty Law Center. 54 hate crimes in Idaho were reported to police in 2020. 19 targeted racial groups, most of which targeted African Americans and Hispanic and Latino communities. And that's all we've got on that. I'm going to see if I can find any more information on this for you.